Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2024. We got new oaths, new weapons, new mantras, new elemental paths. We got legendary weapons. We got dungeons. Baby, we got it all. And if you thought that was a lot, we got Conquest just a few weeks away. What happened? Where's Conquest? What the hell is a cursed gear? Why did I just lag out of the game? 2024 has been a year of ups and downs for Deepwoken. We've gotten a lot of new changes and a lot of, so to say, bad changes. But it's important to remember where we came from so that we can appreciate what we've gotten. 2024, I think, has been most impactful for Deepwoken because the developers have kind of changed the way they do things. For the majority of Deepwoken's lifespan, a lot of the updates, a lot of the big content drops came in massive annual updates. Verse 2. Everything was all coming in one massive package, with the weekly updates sort of being, they were just there. It wasn't something that people looked forward to. When you go back to verse 1 and you read some of those old weekly update logs, the most impressive thing would be like 0.5 XP gain for Voidwalkers. It was things that nobody really cared about. Now, however, weekly updates have sort of become the lifeblood of the game. Weekly updates are the thing that keeps the game going. It's what people are excited. There's a weekly update today that a lot of people are going to be super cool. They're going to be hype about. They want to see it. It's really what keeps the game going. And that's relatively new for the developers. It wasn't until 2024 that the devs really started putting a lot of their effort into weekly updates. Especially, this can be categorized with the start of K1's sort of generational run. This is when we got Maestro in a weekly. We got a bunch of legendary weapons. We got elemental paths like Twisted Puppets. The way that we get content in Deepwoken is forever changed. And I think, arguably, that was the best thing the devs could have done. I know a lot of people shit on weekly updates. I also think a lot of people have really forgotten how good we have it. When you see a weekly update and you get a new legendary weapon, a lot of people are inclined to say, oh, new slop weapon, typical deep devs, who cares? But that's just looking at the surface level. Not only is that a new, fun, unique weapon to use, but when that gets added to the game, hundreds of possible builds have now been created. A lot of people who play the game love min-maxing and making super specific builds, and every weapon that gets added, every oath, is hundreds of builds that can now be made. It's really what's keeping the game fresh and fun, and that's why I think the player count has been so high throughout the majority of 2024. When we go back and we look at October, November, December of 2023, really at the start of when these weekly updates were coming out, it was cool to see even 10k players average. We thought we were on top of the world with 2023 Holotide, because we got to like 19k players. We thought that was insane. We thought Deepwoken was back and better than ever. This year, we had 40k players for Holotide with the release of Bloodrend. So this is kind of the point I'm trying to make. Yes, the devs are behind on Conquest. They are behind on world events. But it's facetious to say that they aren't updating, that they don't care, that they've lost passion. We've got so many incredible updates, so much incredible content, but it's spread out through weekly, so it's not stuck in your mind and like, oh, verse 2 update, verse 2 drop. There's so much. It's more spread out, so it doesn't have that much of an impact, right? You don't specifically remember, oh yeah, 3 months ago on this Friday, they added the Cures Winter, my favorite weapon. You know, people don't really think like that. It's something that we definitely take for granted. Now that I've sort of glazed the devs a bit, we can actually get into the meat of the video. A lot of the things that I don't like and a lot of the problems we've seen in 2024. Conquest and world events are incredibly delayed. It's insane. I mean, we thought that we were going to have it over a year ago, and here we are still waiting with no real release date in mind. It's really, really difficult as someone who's passionate for the game to see the developers fumble this in such a way. Especially, I know, MOBAs are really hard to make, I know that. But when the developers recognized that Conquest was going to take much longer for them to create, why didn't they just shelf it and put all of their efforts into completing world events, or Void Sea, or Void Tower. Those were going to be easier to make. That is something that developers have a lot of experience with. By making Verse 2, they know how to make new areas, new monsters, new dungeons, new bosses. When they realized Conquest was going to be taking much longer than expected, I don't understand why they didn't just focus up on world events in Void Tower, because we would have had it by now. And a lot of people would have really enjoyed that. The game would have seen a ton of new players, PvE would have had a lot more to do, it would have been a lot of fun, and instead they're kind of just fumbling around between updates, not really getting any meaningful progress done on either of them. Another problem with, I guess, a lot of the new content is this sort of AAA game design mentality. We got the Diluvian mechanism, which is cool. It hasn't really been changed, it's kind of stale now, but for what it is, it's a very fun, cool little PvE experience. The real problem starts with Ceramide Hollow and War Mode. These are two fundamentally great ideas. They're super cool, it's new ways to play the game, it's endgame content for PvP players, and it's mid to early game content for PvE players. It's sort of giving both sides of the community what they were lacking. However, they dropped horrifically unfinished. There was so much more that needed to be done and fleshed out for both of these modes. And then we're kind of just expected to wait and have them updated later, which they still haven't. You see this a lot with AAA games, especially the COD franchise, where they drop the game and it's not even done, and then a year later they finally update it and like, here guys, we did it, it's fixed, it's cool, it's awesome, and it's like, why'd you even drop it in the first place? It's not done. On top of that, it's been out for months now, especially Ceramide Hollow. Why have you not fixed it? Why is it not any different? You guys said you were going to update it, you said you were going to make it fun and fix this based off our feedback, and then you never did. The devs, especially as someone who interacts with devs as a content creator, or at least Archmage quite a lot, the devs will recognize where they're failing, and they'll give you the solution, and they'll spitball ideas at you, and it's super cool. They have all of the fixes in their minds already. They already know exactly what they have to do, what to change, cool new ideas. They lay out in front of you everything that needs to happen to make the game enjoyable, or to revamp content that dropped a little earlier than it should have. And then they don't do that. They don't do anything. It's very, very, very frustrating. Deepwoken has, especially in the last couple months, I think, it hasn't suffered from a lack of passion, it's suffered from a lack of direction. Verse 2 was a big project, right? We're gonna remake the combat. We're gonna create Chaser and Etheron, you know, the Eternal Gale, all of those things. It was easy for them to come together and do that, figuratively, because the direction was built into it. Okay, we're gonna make this new area, then we're gonna make the bosses, then we're gonna make the rewards. Now it's like, we have to make Conquest. How do we even do that? World events, where do we even put it? What are we making? Void Tower, what would that look like? It feels like they all have different ideas for one thing, and it's like they're gridlocked. They're not working together, they're not organized, they don't have a clear direction of, this is what we're doing, this is what it looks like, this is the content, these are the rewards, let's make it. It seems like that whole creative process that they displayed previously with other updates is just gone. It's not very clear what devs are doing what. It's not clear if the devs are even all working on the game. We know Ragusa really isn't. Dex is around. We don't really know how much time and effort Fino or K1 is putting in. The only dev we really know about is Archmage. He is the one really keeping the game afloat. And it's incredibly impressive. He's an incredibly passionate man. But he is only one man. Deepwoken has become a very complex, intensive game. It's just not possible for Archmage as one person to completely keep the game together. We started the year off really strong, and I think as it became clearer and clearer that Conquest and World Events were not going to be done in 2024, it sort of hung over their heads. It's like, think about it this way, you go to work, or you go to school, wherever you go, whatever you're doing, it's hard for you to really be immersed in that and enjoy it and do your best when you know in the back of your head you have a mountain of responsibilities that you have to go and deal with afterwards. I think the same thing has happened here. It's hard for the devs to really lock in and make this content and push things out when looming over their head is just conquest isn't done. It takes a lot more time. It needs more effort. It's just hanging on them. It's just a weight on their shoulders. It's frustrating. I don't think it's going to come out in 2024. It'll probably come out mid-2025, if we're being honest. It sucks, but only time will tell. I think the power creep, especially, has gotten out of control in the last couple months, and Bloodrend perfectly summarizes that sentiment, because Bloodrend is pretty much, it's a dev spec. It is damn near a dev spec. It reduces your blood, which can kill you by status effect. Blood poison significantly nerfs you if the percentage gets high enough, which really isn't that hard to do. It has very little windup. It has incredible mantras. It does incredible damage. It does everything. The power creep especially it's so bad with Bloodrend. And people have been lobbying for nerfs through like the Chime Discord, and it still has not really happened. It's sloppy. It's very sloppy. The updates have become sloppy. Things get into the game, and it's like, it's not like before when people are like, oh, this is slop because it's broken or it's strong. No, the things they're adding don't work. You still cannot vent Blood Curdle. Things get added to the game, and like the rock mauler. That is nonsense, bro. That makes no sense. Or like the Drake Maws, the interaction where it could almost one-shot you. Things are getting into the game that just don't work. They're sloppy, they're broken, they're buggy. And this isn't something that you used to see in the past. It's only really been the last 2 months that we're getting updates that cause like 12 to 15 almost game-breaking bugs every Friday. It doesn't make any sense. It's all sort of coming to a head now that even the most die-hard Deepwoken lovers, someone like Agamatsu himself, can admit, like, yeah, the PvP is fucking cooked. You can't even go ganking. It's just terrible. The power creep especially, I think, started with things called, or really multi-hit mantras. What I'm saying by that is things like Flaming Scourge, or Permafrost Prison, the new Rising Wind. Things that hit you multiple times or have lingering hitbox, because they're almost true. You know, you can block the first part of it, but you're still going to get hit by the lingering effect. Or if the hit does connect, you have no way to vent or escape the next following part of the combo. The next follow-up of that mantra, which is going to do like a bar. Deepwoken is built on the idea of blocking, parrying, and dodging. So it makes no sense to me why the developers are adding things that you cannot block, you cannot dodge, you cannot parry. It doesn't fit in the game. And on the surface level, they look cool and they're fun to use. It gets people excited, but long term, it's not good for the health of the game. I know the devs aren't big on removing content, but oh my god! You guys have lost the plot. Reel it in. Some of the shit you're adding to the game does not belong here. There's this scene in Jurassic Park where they're discussing, is it ethical to bring back dinosaurs? And the whole philosophical question there, the answer, is that these scientists are asking, are we capable of bringing back dinosaurs? Could we theoretically do it? Would it work? Yes. They never were asking themselves, should we? Is it a good idea? Every time I play Deepwoken or I think about Deepwoken, that scene comes to my head where the devs added these cool broken mantras and weapons and oaths and all of these things. They were asking themselves, can we do it? Will it work? Do we have the ability? Would it look cool? The answer was yes. But they weren't asking themselves, should we add it to the game? The answer was no. It feels miserable to play, and it's not like one attunement is stronger than the other. Every attunement is super strong. It feels broken. Every weapon class has something that's straight cheese. There's so many different stupid interactions that make the game miserable. War mode partially isn't playable, not just because it's sort of underdeveloped, but because the fucking combat is so awful that it's like torturing yourself. You just constantly get harassed by mages or heavy builds with Jet Striker, who not only do a bar for an M1, but they can also outrun you. How does that work? Deepwoken in 2024 has had its highs and its lows. It has been a year of Deepwoken, so to speak, but we've seen a lot of good come out of it. The game is more popular than ever. There's so many cool things to do. And the best part is, a lot of the problems with Deepwoken aren't fundamental flaws that you might see with other games. I'd say 90% of the issues in Deepwoken can be solved simply by the developers going into the dev place and changing some number values. Changing how certain monsters work. Changing how certain weapons work. No more bullshit like hit stun or lingering hitboxes. These are all things that can be fixed pretty easily with just a handful of number changes. On top of that, the framework is strong. Deepwoken is an incredibly well-made game at its core. So even if we sort of lost the plot, you can always return to that core and build back up with content that fits, that's exciting, and rewarding to the players that have dedicated hours of their life to the game. I'm excited to see what 2025 brings. Hopefully it's Conquest. Hopefully it's World Events. Hopefully, I don't even know. Because if it's not, I don't even want to think about that.